it's Ashleigh from Sweet Dreams Bake Shop and
Aliya or Cake Legend.
So today we're going to be making a plated dessert, which I'm going to be learning from this master pastry chef.
I'm not a master, just so everyone knows. She keeps calling me a master. It's not true.
But she is going to teach me something. I know very little about actually plating desserts and all of that stuff, so that's what she's going to teach me today. So let's get into it. First, we're going to start off by pouring out that heavy cream to start the mousse.
So as you can see, our whipped cream is at a very soft peak. For certain mousses, you need the peak to be more like a soft medium because it needs to help stabilize the chocolate.
Right.
But since we're doing dark chocolate mousse, the peaks can be more on the soft side because there's a higher cocoa percentage in the chocolate.
And if you do it too thick, then it's going to be way too hard of a mousse when you bite through it?
Yeah. And it won't mix together nice, which you'll see later when we combine everything.
Perfect.
And now we're going to put it in the fridge.
So this definitely isn't like one of my typical tutorial videos. This is really me fumbling through trying to learn something new. Now I've made chocolate mousse before, but I always try to skip the recipes where I actually have to put things on double boilers. So this was a new experience for me. So what made you get into going to pastry school in the first place?
Well, I found out about this program at my high school that would allow me to do baking instead of normal grade 11 classes. And I was like, oh my God, I have to do it. And I did it.
After carefully shaving that chocolate down and measuring it out, we needed to get our egg yolks ready, so we separated the egg yolks and the egg whites.
Basically, we're gonna when it gets warmer, we're gonna whisk it really fast like this and get it really whippy and foamy.
Basically, at this point, we were whisking together the sugar and the egg yolks, and while Aliya continued to do that, I got the gelatin ready. This recipe does include gelatin, which I don't normally work with. After a long time, finally, the mousse looked like that, and I swear we were whisking that for 20 minutes. Now, I've done precise baking before, especially when I'm using a new recipe. I generally am pretty careful, but we had to stick the thermometer into the mousse several times before adding in the chocolate. I did a video before where I made white chocolate mousse, and it didn't set properly. Now I know why. It's because I never actually got out my thermometer and did all of this precise cooking. After the chocolate was fully melted, we incorporated the whipping cream, really making sure to fold things in. And this was actually a lot looser than I thought it would be, but Aliya said this was totally normal. If I was doing this by myself, I probably would have panicked at this point, but things were still looking good. I remembered that we didn't actually bring this to a stiff peak or anything, so it makes sense why it would be a little bit soupy like this. This is something that I always see being done on those cooking shows or cooking competitions where they put this in a fancy mold, so it was very satisfying piping this in. Now, one thing I did worry about is that we didn't use gelatin sheets, which is what the recipe called for. Instead, we used that powdered gelatin, so I was really hoping that that wouldn't affect the mousse at all. We also used some half-sphere molds as well. And while we were doing all of this, we were also making macarons too, because why wouldn't we make several desserts for one plated dessert? Now, during Aliya's pastry course, of course, she learned how to make macarons, but this particular portion, I actually was teaching her, and we'll talk more about that later on in the video. I know they look a little bit bumpy, but we bang out the pans and it ends up working out. We also decided to add in a little bit of this cookie. Now, this cookie is really basic. It's basically like a very soft chocolate sugar cookie, and the dough comes together very easily. It's a little bit sticky, so that goes in the fridge. Now, just making a simple ganache, and we had that beautiful chocolate already all chopped up, so this process was even easier. Basically, I think we used about a 2-to-1 ratio. 2 being the chocolate and 1 being that heavy whipping cream. And then we just let it kind of melt together a little bit. And we end up using the ganache for plating purposes as well as filling up all of our lovely macarons. Back to our chocolate sugar cookie dough, and I believe that she called this a chocolate sablé. This has a really high butter content, and we want to make sure that it's not too thick because we want the mousse to sit on top of this and just break through really nice and easily. Now moving on to the white chocolate glaze. We almost doubled this recipe, but we were really glad that we didn't because we had way too much in the end. So what we're doing here is we're letting all of that gelatin come together, and we didn't know how the gelatin would work out. Again, this recipe calls for sheets of gelatin or leaves of gelatin and not actual powder, but we just hoped, and it did work out in the end, so we were glad about that. Now, I have made white chocolate glazes before, but that was about 6 years ago, so I really forgot the process. And I wanted to make sure that I ran it through with this immersion blender because I didn't want any gelatin chunks to be in there. Super important that it's nice and smooth. And you can tell how long we've been at this because of all the lighting changes. I feel like my kitchen is a dead giveaway for telling what time it is, and we've definitely reached that point where all the lights have to go on and we no longer have any natural light. So those mousse were sitting in the freezer, and then we put the glaze over top, and then we had our lovely macarons ready as well. So remember I said earlier that I was actually teaching Aliya how to make these macarons? Well, I went on her channel and we made these adorable bear macarons. So definitely go and check out her channel. I will link it down in the description box below as well as in the pinned comment where you can see step by step how we made these. They're so cute. All right, so we have finally made it to the actual plating portion. So teach me your ways.
Okay, we have 3 different plates here, so we're gonna go for 3 different looks. Yeah, with the plated part, you can really do whatever you want.
We started all of our plating off with a good base of chocolate ganache. Now, if you find that your ganache is getting kind of stuck like this, definitely heat it up a little bit, just a slight bit, and mix it up, and you can paint it on really easily. You can also use a piping bag to distribute the ganache as well.
We have the mousses glazed now. Now we can put them on the plates and then kind of construct how we want this plate to look.
And how are you actually going to lift that off without damaging the glaze?
We're gonna use an offset spatula, put it underneath, and then lift it up. You can kind of drag the glaze too, that's kind of hanging. And then use a small one to kind of help you gently put it down on the plate. And if it looks kind of ugly like this one does, we can just cover it up with decoration.
Perfect! That's what I always do with cake decorating.
Yeah, okay, we're gonna crumble them up. She wouldn't let me do it in a bowl, you guys. That's why we have this situation. And then we're gonna just place it.
That looks really nice. I know normally that my editing cuts are usually pretty clean, but we had seriously been baking for so long that we were starting to reach that loopy moment. I'm sure you guys have all gone through that before, but I'm all about sharing my real baking experiences with you guys, and seriously, we had just reached that point. Now what we're doing is we're just decorating things with a little bit of that leftover white chocolate that we had. We also had some leftover ganache, so we're just kind of creating this galaxy moment on this plate, and Aliya is even going that step further and taking that white chocolate and sweeping it out. It was finally my turn to plate my first dessert, and I decided to go with just really something very simple and some hearts here and there. I also splattered on some edible gold as well. This was the final plate that we had, and I wish that I had more fancy plates available, but I really just had these ones on hand, so we decided to work with what we had. But I do feel like they look like some desserts that I've had at restaurants, and I was really pleased with all of the things that Aliya showed me how to make. Now, this is usually the moment where I share pricing with you, but I have no idea whatsoever on how to charge for things like this. And I don't think I would ever make custom order things like this either. It would definitely have to be done in a restaurant setting. And I've definitely worked in the food industry before, but I've never worked at a restaurant that would actually sell desserts like this. So let me know down in the comments below, where would you put this price point at? All right, that was a very long day. I know for you guys, I don't know, this probably took, 10 minutes in this video, but we were actually working on several different things all at once today, so we actually had about a 12 and a half hour baking day today, which
Yep.
even when I make like 6-tiered cakes, it doesn't take that long. So this was like quite an experience.
A lot of mistakes were made, but
yeah,
here we are.
But that's the way it goes. Like when you're learning new things, that is what's going to happen. And
yeah, totally.
like even though you were more well versed with the pastry part, it's just like you're working in a different kitchen, and we didn't know certain percentages of like what things were, because when you had to go purchase them, it was just such a different experience. Super pleased with what we made, and I'm so great to have you on my channel.
Thank you. So glad to be here.
Yes, and I'm hoping that we like can do more collabs, and I think there might be one in the future. So thanks so much for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you can be part of the Sweetie fam. Right now, I'm uploading weekly, so make sure you hit that notification bell so you know when I upload. Also, be sure to comment, request, or ask a question. I love hearing from you guys. Bye!